Hi, and welcome to the Who Are They podcast. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that sometimes we reference different photos and videos, and those are all available on our Instagram at WH0_ARE_THEY_. So go there for updates about our show and reminders of when our episode drops.
From our Instagram, you can get to any of our other social medias or places to listen to the podcast. If you're listening, go ahead and rate and review, or if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe.
Thank you for tuning in. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast, Who Are They? We're really excited to have you back for our 6th podcast. I'm Bailey.
Wow. I'm Abby.
And if you are listening on... Anywhere. Hello. I was going to say, if you're listening on YouTube, like, hi, you can see me wave at you. Mm-hmm. But if you're just listening on your headphones, we're glad you're here too. Yeah. But don't forget to stop by our Instagram if you're just listening on the headphones, because we're going to be referencing a lot of videos and a lot of photos today.
That's true.
Yeah. I'll get started with my week. I had my first full week of school in a while this week.
It was my first week since before Christmas.
Was it really a full week?
Yeah.
And it felt long. Mm-hmm. But it was good. My kids were pretty good this week. We are almost finished with our unit on multiplying fractions.
Oh.
And they're into it because they realized it's actually easier than adding and subtracting. They did get a little discouraged when we got to... mixed numbers, but they got it now. Yeah. Anyways, I had my observation on Friday.
Is this the observation where there are like 6 people?
No, this was just my principal. So this was like, I have 3 observations a year from my admin. So I had the 2 vice principals each do it once, and then the principal does it once. So this was my second one. This was my only announced observation. All the other ones are unannounced.
Okay.
But so I knew she was coming all week. And she came for a lesson that we talked about scaling multiplication, which sounds difficult, but it's basically like...
Can you hear that telephone?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, you want to know what?
What?
We literally never get phone calls. So I live in my grandparents' house. They're gone for the winter, okay? And they still have a home phone, right? The only calls that come to this house are spam calls. So I never answer the phone ever.
Yeah,
but
like who else is going to call your home phone? Yeah. Well, that's pretty funny, actually. I was like, wait, I haven't heard a home phone in forever.
I know. Anyways, keep going. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Or maybe it will. Anyways, it's just like, oh, you multiply a number by a fraction less than 1, your answer smaller. Anyways, opposite if it's a fraction greater than 1. Oh, but my observation went really good. My kids were really good. They were chatty. We did a little activity, and they did pretty good. You know, some of them still didn't pay attention, but they were like doing what they needed, like they were at least focused. And as soon as my principal walks out of this room, this one kid goes, we can be our true selves again.
In a nutshell, I don't know what is. That is.
But I was like, thank you for putting on the show of your life, because that reflects on me. I said, so thank you. You know what? Yeah, be your true selves again. I've only got you for another 30 minutes before lunch.
My gosh. My kids, whenever I get an observation, my kids are always like, they don't necessarily do that. And sometimes they act better. Sometimes they don't care. But they just will be like, why was she in here? Like, what is she doing?
Like as soon as they leave?
Yeah, as soon as they leave, because they just care about the drama. Like, what's going on? What are we doing? Right? Like,
sometimes I tell, like, if I know someone's going to come in, I say that she's actually watching them and not me. And they'll be like, why? And I'll be like, well, she just wanted to make sure you guys are behaving.
That's funny.
So I usually warn them. Like today, I warned them in the morning, but I was like, it was Groundhog's Day, I guess, yesterday.
Yeah.
And this one kid goes, did the groundhog see his shadow? And I go, I don't know. I didn't even know it was Groundhog's Day. And they're like, well, look it up. And I said, I'll look it up if you guys are good while our principal is in here. And they said, oh, okay. So as soon as she walks out, the one kid goes, we can be our true selves again. And this other kid immediately goes, did the groundhog see his shadow? And I was like, How would I know? I was like, I was teaching the lesson and you were in the lesson. We've been doing this same thing together this whole time. I told you I didn't know this morning, but I looked
You
it up.
100% bribed those kids.
Oh, yeah. And that was a really simple one. You know, sometimes you got to be like, I'll give you some mints or something.
That's funny.
But
I don't
no,
usually do that. It doesn't work with 7th graders.
no, and it barely works with fifth graders. Every once in a while it will. But they're
That's
still kind of
funny.
little. So they want to do good, most of them. But also the participation from the kids was incredible. Like almost every single one of them was raising hands for questions.
Oh,
And I was like, you guys are doing it. Thank you. It's a Friday. You're tired. I'm tired. But we're in this together.
that's funny. That's really
uh,
funny.
yeah, other than that, I don't think I did much this week. I've been watching The Bachelor
Oh my
with my
gosh,
friends.
me too.
Okay.
And I have got a bunch of my coworkers watching it now too because I just haven't been able to stop talking about it.
You know what you're going to be obsessed with? You know Jess?
No, I already know. Grace already told me.
That our friend went to high school with her?
Yeah, so tell it so other people know like what
Okay,
we're talking
so
about.
Jess on the show is from the same hometown as one of my friends that I'm watching the show with. So we see her and she's like, we just keep asking her, is this what she was like in high school? Is this what she was like in high school? And she was like the villain in the first episode, and we're like, oh no, she's the villain. But she seems like she's kind of chilled out this last episode. It wasn't nearly as bad.
But I think like I'm there for her villain vibes, you know? Like if she
Yeah,
turns
like
from the villain, I don't think I'm gonna like her like to be with him. You know what I mean?
because I liked her as a villain better than I liked Taylor as the villain. Because Taylor was just like actually like mad at people, and Jess was just like she was just trying to be oblivious. Like, oh, I didn't know. I just want my time.
Right.
So I was kind of down for that.
I am down for drama of any sort, and when it comes to The Bachelor, I just love when it's a huge group of women and they're like catfights all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know so many people that are like, I cannot watch that show. It's horrible. Like, what are these, like, these girls are real. Like, that's their life. I just can't. And I go, yeah, you just got to watch it and pretend like they're not real and that they're not actually, like, acting like that because otherwise it's just like an ick. You know, like, it's just gross.
And you know, they know they're on TV. This show's been on for years. They're playing it up too. They want to become that. They want to become like Instagram famous. They want to leave this show and never have to work again.
Yeah.
So they are playing it up. But who's your favorite?
Oh, for sure, Daisy.
Me too.
Yeah, she's so
the cutest.
sweet.
I think she's gonna win it all.
But my favorite drama from the episode 2 was Lauren, the girl that threw the cake on the ground because she was mad, and then she's like,
that too.
I hate it here. And then Joey comes up and she's like, and he's like, how are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm good.
No, I loved it when they handed her the cake and she was like, it's supposed to be red velvet. And then she takes a bite out of it and she goes, it's not even red velvet. And then like throws it on the ground. And I was like, golly. You know what though? I think that was planned the whole time.
Probably. But
I was like, I don't think she's going to make it past episode 2. After she left, I was like, I bet her sister wanted to be on the show. They're like, I bet we can get on if we do sisters together. Yeah, and then she was like, I'll leave after the second episode. But what a way to go. I loved it.
I know, me too. Oh my goodness. That show is so funny. What else have you done with your week?
Not much else. I started Bible study.
Nice.
But I think I started that last week.
Either. Yeah, you were telling us about it last week. My week, I'm still like on the reading kick of my life, like I said last week, right? But now I'm like done with what I was on before. I wish I could sit here and just give you a whole synopsis of the book, right? Like I totally would if I could, but that would just be boring. But I'm reading these books on suggestion from my students, a few of them that have read through this whole series. There's like 10 books in this series. I finished the first book last night. I literally spent 3 hours reading this book.
Oh.
Finished it. Couldn't get the second book from the library right away, so I bought it on my Kindle because I was like, I have to keep going immediately. Anyways, it's called Keeper of the Lost Cities. It's definitely like a YA fantasy. It's like elves and like in another world and stuff. And elves make it sound weird, but fantasy, you know, is just a whole nother
I feel like
thing.
youth fantasy is the best genre.
Oh my gosh, and it's so good. And here's the deal. This is kind of on theme with like Valentine's, what we're talking about today. There are like 3 boys in this series, and one of them really has a huge crush on her. She has a huge crush on the another one, and the third one, we can't tell if he has a crush on her, and I can't decide which one I like better and like which one I want her to end up with, right?
Ooh.
So that keeps me going too. I know. On top of like the mystery that already is like within the plot. Anyways,
you'll have to read this.
Oh, you should. It's so good. And I sent a whole like 3-paragraph email to the students that have read it last night with my reviews on the first book.
Are you serious?
Oh, for real.
That's awesome.
Because I've been talking about it every day at school. Also this week, it was our first 5-day week, so exhausting for me. But I decided that I want to do something this week. I went to a movie by myself.
Ooh.
I know. I
How
have
was
never
that?
done something like that before. It was actually kind of fun. Like, I didn't like the movie I saw. It really honestly wasn't that good, in my opinion.
What was it?
But it was like the rom-com that's out.
Oh.
I currently can't remember what it's called.
It's like Anyone But You?
Yes, that's what it's called. And I didn't really like it. I didn't think it was that great. But it was kind of a fun experience to just like go by myself somewhere, which I am not a person that likes to be alone or like do things all by myself. That was kind of cool and kind of fun.
Nice.
But I will say, and I meant to say this last podcast, but I have to tell everybody. I saw Boys in the Boat with my grandparents like 2 weeks ago, okay? Loved it. I am a sucker for a sports movie, okay? And I will say that the main character in Boys in the Boat, so attractive. That just makes any movie so much better, to be honest.
That is true.
Any movie. That's my week.
Well, so delightful. All right. Well, if that's our week, then I'll kick it off to the history of the day. Now, the history of the day is a picture screenshot of a message exchange on Facebook Messenger. And so Abby has it on her phone. So I'm going to have her pull that up now.
Do you want me to look at it now?
Yeah, I want you to look at it now. Okay. I want you to describe everything you see, like what chat this is and everything.
I haven't read the messages yet. All I see is WoHo, so the women's house in the year 2019 to 2020. But there's like barely any messages in here. Okay.
Please read them.
Okay, so our roommate Skyla sends a message middle of the afternoon and goes, so just a thought. Can we please try to be more careful about shutting the front door? That's so sweet. Then she goes, a squirrel was wandering around the house. The way that she writes that with so little care in the world, like so sweet, so
like,
nice.
Please just. It was almost like, hey, can we please wash our dishes? But like,
right. And it's like, it's not like I'm not even getting a like pettiness to this message. Like some people,
not at all.
Like, you might read that type of message and get like a petty, like, can we please close the door? Blah 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 blah. Blah. That's not that's not like if you know Skyla, you know she wasn't writing it like that. You know? What I mean?
She's trying to be so nice.
She's genuinely trying to be so nice and just go and just inform us what's going on, right? So just a thought. Can we please try to be more careful about shutting the front door? A squirrel was on your house. Somebody else, I can't tell who it was, writes, oh my gosh, Randy is coming for us. And then I write, that is terrible, but so funny, LOL. I'm just glad I wasn't home. I'm only concerned for myself. I have no care in the world for anybody else.
Is that one message like blue on the right side?
Yeah.
That's from me. Must be.
Okay. Well,
yes.
Tell me about Randy, because I remember something about Randy the rabid squirrel, but I don't remember like much about him.
So at our college campus, we had so many squirrels. And one thing about our campus in Michigan is squirrels are so fat. Okay. That like prefaces the story. Like when I moved to Nashville, the squirrels are skinny and someone will be like, that's a fat squirrel. And I go, literally, he's a very skinny squirrel. The fat squirrels are up north. They got to stay warm for the winter. Anyways, we had this one fat squirrel that lived outside of our house. And he would like just sit there outside of our house and look at us while we walked in. He'd like sit on our porch all the time. He would eat out of our garbage. And so we started calling him Rabid Randy because he was so chatty. And he was always hanging out on our porch. And there would be like, we would take pictures of him like getting progressively closer to the door, like on the porch.
Yeah.
And then like one day there was a squirrel in our house and it had to be Rabid Randy. He was
it couldn't
coming
have been
for
anybody
us.
else.
No, nobody else would have ventured into our house. He was the only one that would hang out on our porch.
Oh my word.
So we were like, oh my gosh, he's coming for us. Anyways, there was a squirrel in our house. And I think Skylar was the only one home during that time.
Probably. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But that's what happens when you live with like 9 girls.
Yeah. In a
Someone's
very
gonna leave
old house. In like,
Also, the door should have been closed because I think that message is from like February 13th.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
it
the
was
dead of
winter.
winter. Like, it's cold. Like, why was the door open?
I
Who
don't know,
knows?
That's weird. That's
But the
so
squirrel
funny.
was cold. And he was running around our house. She must have got him out pretty easily.
Yeah.
Like,
But I
he
don't
came in
remember
and then
having
left.
a whole lot of drama with that.
No. So, I just thought that was a cute little memory.
That's
Little mem.
hilarious. I like it. All right. Well, let's jump into our topic for today. Our
Okay.
topic, you'll be listening to this podcast on February 13th, the day before
Mhm.
Valentine's. So happy Valentine's, everybody.
Happy Valentine's.
Our topic is kind of like Valentine's Day plus relationships in college, mostly.
Yes.
So we've got a couple things we want to hit, but first, Valentine's Day. Well, okay, before we even begin, actually, I'm going to preface our whole thing, okay?
Okay.
Bailey and I never had a boyfriend or went on a date or anything until, at least 2 years into college, 3 years into college?
Junior year, probably.
Yeah, until junior year.
Of
and I
college?
think senior year for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, all the stuff we're going to share is based on the background that we, literally had never been on a date, never been asked out. At least I was never asked out. True for you,
Nope,
too?
me neither.
Okay. Until at least halfway through college. So, based on that being said, Valentine's Day, we never had anyone to go out with. We didn't have anything to do. And sometimes you'd find yourself a little sad, right? Just wanting somebody to go
a little
out.
down.
So, and this was my question to you. We decided to go out on Valentine's Day, and we started this in 2020, but I can't remember how that started. Do you?
No, I think we just wanted to get dressed up and go somewhere because everyone else was getting to get dressed up and go somewhere.
And I think we had decided at that point in our life, why are we sitting around waiting to get a boyfriend? Like, why are we sad about it? Let's romanticize our life a little. Like, have a little bit of fun. Honestly, I still have this mentality. Like, why aren't we all just romanticizing our life and making it fun? Like, everything you do, turn it into a story. Like, a beautiful story that is something so fun. Okay?
And why can't I get dressed up to go out with my friend?
Exactly.
Like,
There's no
that's
reason
so
you
fun.
can't.
Yeah.
So anyways, we decided to start this tradition that every Valentine's Day we would go out and we would get dressed up and have some fun. The first one is the best one.
Oh, it was a good one. We had a whole day. Like, not a whole day. Like, a good date planned.
But at the time, we also lived together, so I think that made it better.
Yeah, so we got to get, like, ready together. We coordinated our outfits.
We coordinated our outfits. You did my hair.
I did do your hair. I did my own hair. We took a little photo shoot.
Yeah, we had our roommates take it for us.
And it was really cute. In front of our chalkboard wall in our house.
Yeah.
That had a really cute Valentine's drawing on it.
And then we went out to my favorite restaurant.
Los Palominos.
Los Palominos.
We name dropped it a lot last time, too.
Yeah, we did.
So if you are in the area, go to Los Palominos and get their chicken quesadilla.
No, get their...
You
and
get the
honestly,
two soft
get
tacos,
anything
rice,
with
and beans.
that white cheese, like the
Our
Mexican
white
cheese. Oh my
so
gosh.
good.
I would die for that stuff.
I would die for that. Why didn't you like try to ask him one time what the white cheese was and they wouldn't tell you?
Yeah.
I was so rude. They're gatekeeping the
Like
white
my family
cheese.
did one time because we used to go there.
And I think you can get it at the grocery store.
You probably can.
They're
But that would
gatekeeping
ruin the magic, you know?
it. Right. And it was so good. They would just, the quesadilla, they crisped it up so nicely.
Oh.
Anyways, you get fat off the chips and salsa. And then
Oh my gosh, my mouth is watering.
golly.
Okay. Anyways, we would go get Mexican, and it was always Los Palminos.
It had to be.
Because we've never done it when we weren't in Mount Pleasant. Anyways.
That's true.
So we go get Los Palminos. The first time we came back, we went to the store, and then we made cookies afterwards. And we decided to take them over to the men's house.
Yes. We made chocolate chip cookies because that's my specialty.
Yeah.
I make the best ones in the world. And yes. And yeah, we took them to the men's house. But I remember we didn't have all the ingredients for the cookies that first year. So we had to run over to the men's house and get like vanilla or something.
Yeah,
and then run back. And I think that's why we promised them some cookies, because we had to borrow some ingredients. So then we made the cookies and we brought them back over.
Yeah.
And that was our little Valentine treat to them.
But the whole time we made a vlog the first time. And I don't know if we ever made a vlog again.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we made a vlog both times. We at least recorded both times.
Yeah. Anyways,
or all three times.
I love that video, and I haven't watched it in years, but I think it's hilarious, and we'll have to put that up so that you can see our what we did and what started the tradition.
Yes.
2021, the second year.
2021 was the year that I got a boyfriend, I think, like 3 days before Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was talking to him beforehand, and we talked about that last time, but we started dating right before Valentine's Day.
And this is what we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Like, you asked me to be your Valentine, and that was our history last time. So if you haven't listened to that, go back. But that's when I was, like, screaming excited, because I was so scared that you weren't going to still go out with me. Mm-hmm. And you were going to just go out with him instead.
Yeah. And we had started dating so close to Valentine's Day that we didn't even really make any plans for Valentine's Day. We got like coffee the morning of, which I said last time, and Abby and I still went to Los Palominos. We got dressed up. We did a little photo shoot. We went to Target.
We got some matching outfits, I think, or like some matching
No, you
clothes.
bought a new dress.
Oh. Did we get
but I loved that.
Tank tops a different time?
Maybe. And then we went back to my house and we danced to Jake Scott and recorded ourselves dancing.
Oh dear, those are just so cringy, but like honestly I would do it again.
Which is also a great memory. Also, I remember, this is a funny tangent. So my boyfriend and I at the time didn't even, like, we got coffee.
Yeah.
And he like didn't get me anything for Valentine's Day. He was like, because we just started dating. And his mom was the one that called him and was like, did you get her anything for Valentine's Day? And And he was like, no. And she was like, why not? So then because his mom told him to, he went and got me some stuff.
That's kind of sad. How did you find that out?
He told me.
Why would you tell?
He told me as he gave it to me. He was like, yeah, my mom said I probably should give this to you.
Oh, that is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually such a bummer. That's kind of sad.
It was my very first Valentine's Day that I ever had a boyfriend or even a boy that liked me. And that's what
hilarious. Happened. Oh my gosh. Anyways, the third year we went, we don't have much like of anything from that. I think you were teaching.
Yes, I was teaching.
You were teaching. I can't remember. I was student teaching. So I think honestly that year it was kind of like, let's just check the box and go do it.
We went to Los Palominos again.
Yeah.
We go there. And
then we took a few pictures, but that's really it. I think it was more like, let's go out because we always go out. And then then 2023, we skipped it. Right,
because I had moved here. Yeah. No. Yeah, I was here, so I was not near Abby at all.
Yeah.
So we skipped it. But this year...
2024, baby!
We're bringing it back, baby.
Stay tuned!
It will not be on Valentine's Day.
No, but it will be the weekend after Valentine's Day.
We will have our Valentine's date. And stay tuned for those vids.
Maybe we'll make another vlog. We'll see what happens.
We're going to keep the tradition alive as long as we can now.
Yeah. Anyways. Those are our Valentines. And I think the biggest thing for us in was just romanticize your life, like making things fun, right? Like we could have sat around and wished we had a boyfriend and whatever, but we decided to make it fun and like do something interesting.
Can I tell you what Jacob and I did last year, though, the one year we didn't do it?
Yeah.
We went right after work. We had to go to dinner at like 4 because
Yeah.
there's so many. We live in Nashville. There's so many reservations. And we went to this nice restaurant, really delicious. But the waitress comes to our table and she was like, "So what are you guys celebrating tonight?" And we're like,
Valentine's.
Valentine's Day? And she like looks at us with a blank stare and like she's confused and then goes, anything else?" And we're like, "No,
Stop it. Is this
Valentine's
woman
Day."
asking him to get on one knee in front of you?
I don't know.
There?
That's what it felt like.
What the heck?
And I was like, we haven't been dating that long. It's just Valentine's Day.
Oh, that is so awkward.
And you know what he got me for Valentine's Day?
What?
He got me a Bible.
Oh, that's
because I always complained that the Bible I had mom devotionals in it about moms complaining about their husbands and their kids. So he got me a Bible.
That's
and he was like, so that you don't have to read the mom devotionals anymore. So it was really
That's
cute.
actually kind of funny.
Very cute. Yes. Anyways.
Okay, I want to jump back to when we went out in 2021. 2021.
Our first or second time?
Second time. When you started dating.
Oh, yes.
And I just want to jump to, like, friends that have boyfriends, right?
Oh, yes.
So, like, because this is not just us talking about Valentine's, we want to talk about relationships as well. And so I think that we were having fun, like, romanticizing the Valentine's Day itself, but it's hard to romanticize your life and, like, be really fun when, like, I think in college, the whole thing that I know both of us definitely believed, but a lot of people believe is, like, if you don't find someone in college, you're never going to find someone.
Right. Like, where else are you going to be around that many people?
Like, and to be honest, you're not going to be around
that
many people.
And especially,
never again.
I think we were really nervous, too, because we were both going into education, which is a women-dominated field. So we're like...
Yes, and I literally never saw men. I still never, and I mean never, see men.
Well, I work at a school now with like 40-some teachers, and I think one of them is a man besides the gym teachers.
Stop. I mean, I have several men that work in my building, but they're all, like, married and have children, and, like, everyone I work with is basically, not everyone, there are a handful of young people that I work with, but most of them are, like, a lot way older than me, like, could be my parents. Anyways, I think that it's tough, and I think that year was tough for me because I hadn't had a boyfriend, or really a boy ever really show interest in me, except for creepy dude from college. Which we talked about in our first
Which
episode.
is hard. It's hard because it's like, I wanted to be excited, but I didn't want to make you feel bad because you didn't have a boyfriend. And I think it was the same for you because you're like, you want to be excited, but you also are sad. And I've been in that position before as well.
Well, and I wrote this, okay? This was a few days before we had our Valentine's Day, okay? And I'm sitting at home, and you had... This was, I think, your guys' first date, or the first time you went out. But you'd been talking for a little while before that, so, like, we talked about the whole thing. I knew you were going out. And after this, you were supposed to come over and, like, tell me about it or something.
Oh, yes.
Okay? So I wrote, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about everything right now. Currently, I'm a little sad and just wanting to be alone. I think a big part is thinking about you being off on your date. Well, this is funny. Well, I'm sitting in my messy room on my couch in my Eeyore costume, writing in my journal, and listening to John Foreman's new album. Then I wrote, the grass always seems greener on the other side, and right now I really want to be on the other side. I wrote, like, I am so happy for her. I feel bad for feeling this way, but it's just hard. Most times I don't really care because I'm busy and going on with my life, but on nights like this, she would normally be asking to come over. I know we're still just as close, and we will be, but she's also just starting to incorporate someone else now. It's just weird, a whole new territory. And so I think that it was weird because it also seemed like that happened really fast with you guys. But I remember being so, so sad, and not even for the fact that you were dating someone. Like, I was so happy for you. But I was so sad that I had conflicting feelings about the whole thing because I
Mhm.
wanted to support you. But I
Right.
was so sad that our friendship was changing in that way a little bit, where like maybe we would have always been hanging out. Now there's somebody else. And I think that pictured it really well, but also the part I thought was absolutely hilarious is me sitting in my disastrous room, probably because I was such a mess, in my Eeyore costume.
I love that you described it that way. But also, I think you said it really, really well. That way, it's like you're also just kind of sad for the changing relationship with your friend is the
Yeah.
more the sad part because yeah, we spent a lot of time together. So
Yeah.
like if you add someone into that, then it's like, well, you can't spend as much time together. And so that part is sad.
But I think for people, like, I felt wrong that I've kind of felt sad, but I think that's normal. You know
I
what
think
I
it's
mean?
okay to let yourself feel sad. Like let yourself feel that emotion. It would have been wrong if you like every day made me feel bad,
Right. And I don't think I
but you
ever made you
didn't.
feel bad. Did I?
No.
Okay.
No.
And I think I told you I was a little bit sad, but I also
Mhm.
like vented those emotions to other people. And I
Right.
shared it with one of my other roommates. And I think I cried in her room one time. I was like, I feel so bad that I feel this way. And she was like, it's okay. But just like, and I think it took me like a week or two to get over it.
Right.
But then I
You
also
just have
got a
to like
boyfriend.
get
So
Yeah, you got a boyfriend right after me.
I know. At the end, well, I guess we started talking at the end of that month, but still, whatever.
It was very close
It
together.
was very soon.
Very, very close together.
But
So you didn't have to go through it for that long.
I know. But I think like before that, before we moved to anything
Mhm.
else, I think that like if you're dating, it's important to make time for your single friends or just your friends in general, not even just your single friends in general, because I feel like friends help you create some of the best memories ever.
Mhm.
And like that's so fun, especially in college. And for like people who are single like I was, I feel like it's fine that things are going to be different afterwards. Like when
Right.
your friend is in a relationship, you know what I mean? Like
Like
you're
you
not
have
going to
to
be
get
hanging out with
used
them
to
all
it.
the time. Yeah.
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 But it's still going to be okay. Like as long as you both make that effort to still hang out.
Yeah.
And I think when that happened, we started making friendship dates.
We did actually. Yeah, I do
So
remember that.
once a week, we would plan a time. Like this was our day that we were going to hang out.
Yep. And we did some fun things. We went and we played pool one time. We bought these stupid T-shirts with like Noah in the Ark on them. They were kids T-shirts.
We colored them together.
Yeah, and they were all white, but you could color it in. So we did that. I can't remember what else we did, but we did some.
Yeah, we would do fun little things like that together all the time.
Okay. I'm trying to pick what I want to talk about next. I think I want to move to talking about crushes.
Okay. College ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless, yeah. Let's talk college. Okay.
Okay.
Bailey and I both. And maybe I shouldn't speak for you. Let me only speak for myself. You can speak for yourself.
I'll chime in if it's true.
Okay. I am the type of person that always would have a crush. I mean, always. Since I was 11 years old.
I've got them since kindergarten, baby.
Actually, I think I've gotten them since first grade too. Okay, but like my first like real.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew what it was then until I was.
Where like I liked someone for an extended period of time was probably when I was 11 or 12.
Right.
And then I like would okay. Let me define crush before I keep going. Okay?
Yeah, this is a good idea.
So when I say crush, I think I'm talking about like I'm including the guys I liked for extended periods of time, like that I really, really liked. But I'm also including, like when you not just when you see a guy and you think, oh, they're attractive, like not just the men that you would walk by on the street. Like you have to know them, in my opinion, to consider it a crush, okay? Although I guess I didn't know all my crushes. Anyways.
But you knew who they were as people.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, anyways, even if it was the people that I like sort of knew and thought about liking for a few days, I consider them crushes too.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
So like
I
it
get
hits all ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
And because I journal, I have a greater memory of most of them because I would write about all of them,
Yes, you would.
which is a
In
little
detail.
embarrassing.
Great detail.
Which is very embarrassing.
But
Anyways,
it's really funny to read now.
it's
Like, we
hilarious
have a
to read
good
now.
time.
We do, but also we've joked about like if I ever die, like how funny it would be to like make copies of my journals and like send it to all the men that were ever mentioned and be like, "Yep, she really liked you." How
It's like that
like
movie, To All the Boys I Loved Before.
yeah,
Is that what
yeah,
it's called?
actually.
Where like she like sends the letters on accident. But like, if I'm alive after you die, can I send these letters out to the people that are
Oh
still
my
living?
gosh, I feel like I that's it would depend like what's written in there. You know what I mean? But like
But
if
you're
I'm dead, I
dead.
guess it doesn't matter.
You're dead. What's it
It's
matter? And they're old. It's been years.
that's true. I guess it
Half of
probably
them
wouldn't
might be
matter.
dead too.
Yeah, then it probably wouldn't matter. That's fine. You can do that. Okay, but wait,
Okay.
wait, wait. Let's put a stipulation on that. You can
Okay.
only do that if I'm over 50 years old.
Oh yeah,
When I
like not if
die.
you
You know what I
not
mean?
if you
Like
die young.
if I die tomorrow, you cannot do that.
Okay.
Like I want it to be far away from the time period.
But you wouldn't even be embarrassed. You'd be dead.
I don't know. This is a hard question for me.
Okay.
Those are my
we'll
most
circle back to
vulnerable
it.
thoughts and you
They
want
are.
to publicize them.
I only to those that they are about. But
True.
I love reading them too because you write things I totally forgot happened.
Yeah.
And so it's just like the best little memory of we're like in this little thing. And I go, oh my gosh, I forgot we did that. That was so fun.
Oh my word. Anyways, all these crushes, many of them have been written down. I wrote about people that I barely knew because one of my friends was like, "Oh my gosh, I think you'd be cute with this guy who I know," and then I would go stalk them on the internet and be like, "Oh my gosh,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
right."
Mhm.
But the funny thing is, a few years ago, Bailey and I sat down and like wrote down a list of like all the crushes that we had or that we could remember,
Oh yes, this is deep COVID.
and that oh yeah, deep COVID, and I'm pretty sure on that list I have like 30 people.
I have 31 names on this list.
Yeah, I've got 30. But I have another list of like all the men I've ever mentioned in my journals, like having a crush on. And those are different names than are everybody that are on my
Oh my
crush
gosh.
list. So like they're not all the same. So there is overlap, but like there might be some that aren't on either list. So like there's
So you
probably
definitely have more than 30 people.
Yeah. But like remember, not all these are like some of them happen multiple times over like
Yes, and some of them are like, okay, you went on a retreat in college and you
yeah.
saw someone from another school for a weekend and they
Right.
were like your camp crush. You
Well,
know what I
and we
mean?
talked about that last time. Like, remember how
Yes.
Rachel went on that date, and I kind of like
Oh,
him.
yes.
He's one of them. You know what I mean? But that like
Mhm.
doesn't really count because it was like a few days. But still, I wrote about him, so I count it. Anyways, so we made a list of all these, and I think out of the ones I wrote about in my journals, out of the 31 I have in my journals, this is embarrassing. This is really embarrassing. 18 of them were through my college years. How there were that many? I think my face is getting red. But
That's so many. But also, I think I had quite a few too because it was so fun to have crushes on people.
I know it's so
It's
fun.
just fun.
But here was my problem, and this is what I
Mhm.
learned around the times where Bailey and I were going out for Valentine's. I was writing about a certain boy I had a crush on. Okay, and up till probably 2021, maybe 2022, but I think 2021. Whenever I had a crush, I would talk to my friends about it, and I would be like, "Oh my gosh, this one boy." And now I would only probably pick 3 people to tell about it. You know what I mean? But I would talk about it all the time. I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this one boy, I really like him," and I'd talk about the boy. And even if maybe I didn't always like him, I would just tell different stories of when I was around
Right.
him or things I thought were funny. You know?
Mhm.
And when you talk about your crush, it just makes it so much worse.
Oh, it does. And then you convince yourself that the little things they are doing is because they like you.
Right,
Like,
and then you
he
are
came around
delusional.
again. He looked at me, and you're like, he must be in love with me.
Yes, and so around 2021, I started realizing, oh my gosh, I'm delusional. And I need to stop talking about my crushes so much.
Mm.
Which I think is a very hard lesson to learn. At least it was
Yeah,
for
it
me.
is.
because the more I talked about him, the more I liked him, and I knew that this one particular boy didn't like me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that we wouldn't be good together, even though like I had a crush, you know. I was like, even if we ever ended up together, like I don't think it would work out or it would be good, but I still have a crush, right? So I was like, there's just no reason to talk about it, but it's so hard not to. Anyways, out of these lists, we had many in common.
Oh yeah, I think we counted like 7 of them in common.
Yeah, we had probably seven
So
men.
good friends and at different stages having crushes on the same boys.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think it was ever really a problem between us
No, it was never a
because
problem
it never
because
really went anywhere.
no, they never went
And
anywhere.
they usually never overlapped. It would be like,
Right. We never liked, I don't think, the same person at the same time.
no.
No. And
And
even
some
if
of them are just because we had mutual friends before we even met.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we'd gone to the same church and like knew a handful of the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, there was something else that I was going to say about this. Oh, here's the other thing is I feel like it's hard in college because one, you're surrounded by so many people your age. For us, we were around the men's house and around the guys and around a bunch of girls all the time. So you were going to have a crush on somebody at some point in college, obviously, okay?
Right.
But I think I was so focused on wanting a boyfriend because I never had one.
Right.
You know, like that whole grass is greener.
Like it almost didn't feel fair.
It really didn't feel fair at all. And it was like, I'm not getting attention anywhere. I think I'm pretty neat. Like, I don't know. Apparently they didn't.
Apparently not.
I'm kidding. I was
but
really good friends with a lot of guys, but like,
yeah.
just never, nothing ever happened.
Well, I remember too, especially when you're like in the Christian college scene, people get together and then they get married quickly.
Yeah.
Or like people are always dating and together. And it just kind of felt like when you're a single girl in the Christian college scene, it's like, what's wrong with me? Because everybody else is getting together. And obviously, there's so many guys, and like something's wrong.
But
and so you have to get over that as well. You're like, there's nothing wrong with me.
Well, that, and I feel like even where we were going to church, it was such, the ratio was so like, I mean, one man to like 2 or 3 women.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So if a new guy would come to church, like immediately women flocked to him.
Immediately. And it's like everyone had a crush on him. Because it's just like, oh, he's new.
Yes. And I remember like feeling like I remember feeling jealous and like it wasn't fair too, because it's like I grew up my whole life in the church. I was like, I did the right things. I was like serving the Lord, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like I never had a boyfriend. Like I never had that man of God, you know, that you're looking for. And I remember girls that would like become Christians in college, and they would be a Christian for like 3 months and they would meet their husband. And I was like, well, how is that fair? And then they would talk to you about waiting. Like you need to wait. Like I stopped dating and I started waiting. And I go, I've been waiting my whole life.
Okay. So here's my problem with this. Is that I think people have the best intentions when they're trying to give you advice on being single. But here's the problem. Most people giving advice on being single aren't single.
No.
Not at all. And they're the people that are in the relationships or now they're married or engaged and they're like, oh, honey, this is
And they got married at like 24 and you're like, okay.
And so it's just like, I just start rolling my eyes at that moment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I remember going to multiple things about like relationships and all these things. And it's like every single time you're in them, everybody, the 2 things I wrote down that I think are like most common that I've heard are it'll come when you least expect it.
Right.
Which one, I know I've said, because when I started dating that February, I wasn't expecting anything. But at the same time, I always had crushes. I always liked people. I was always expecting something in the sense.
Yeah, like it's not like you all of a sudden turned it off. Like you still had a crush on this boy before you dated him. And like even with my boyfriend now, I was like, I think I had a crush on him for like when I met him until he asked me out. So it's not like I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I know. So it's like, but I think you convince yourself like, oh my gosh, I need to not be expecting any boy to ever talk to me ever. And then it'll happen for me.
Right. And like that's not true because it's like you do need to be talking to boys if you want to date a boy.
I know. um, but then the other thing was everyone's always like, just be content, like learn to be content in your life. And once you're content, blah, blah, blah. And in my notes, I wrote have contentment. And then I just wrote, what?
I
And,
used to get so mad.
but let me explain what I mean by that. Because I do agree that you should be content in your life. Like, I
Right.
agree that there is like a lot of power in having contentment in like where God has you in life and like what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there was a time in my life where I was single until senior year of college. I dated for a year. Now I'm single again. Right? Like, there's a time and place for everything. But when people say have contentment in when they're talking about singleness, it's more like once you're content in your singleness, God will bring you someone. And I
Right.
just don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true. I had someone say that to me once. It was one of my friend's boyfriends, and for some reason we were talking about being single. And he was like, "Well, when your relationship is right with the Lord, God will send you someone." And I was so angry because that was such a condescending thing. Like, some people aren't meant to be married, for one.
Yeah.
Like, and that doesn't make them any less a follower of God. Like, that doesn't make them any less of a person. And it's
Right.
like, too, it's like there are people all the time that meet people and their relationship's not right with the Lord,
Yeah.
you know? And like,
Yeah.
it's not perfect. Like, is it ever going to be perfect? And so you telling me that you have a significant other and I don't is you telling me that your relationship is right and mine is wrong and I need to fix it.
I know. I think it's just so hard because it's like,
And
I don't
and
know.
those are the ones that made me angry because it's like I have grown up in the church my whole life.
Yeah.
So it's like you having been a Christian for 3 years or 6 months and you have found someone and you are now preaching to me about how I need to get my relationship right with the Lord and then I will meet someone used to get me fired up.
I know. Because it's like, yeah, as Christians, we want to be seeking God and
Right.
figure out how to have joy in your life circumstances, wherever you might be. And that's hard to do. But I think when I hear the word contentment, it's like I need to be totally A-okay with everything God is doing in my life right now. And sometimes that's just not, like, you're just not always going to feel so happy where you are in the sense of like
Right.
that you're totally good with everything happening. Like right now, I'm single. Would I like to have a boyfriend? Yeah. But I'm not like, I don't feel like I'm not content. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even though I still want something more than where I'm at.
Yeah.
That it's just like, I think that it's still okay to like people, to have crushes, to talk to people. And that doesn't mean you're not content. You know what I mean?
Right. Like you can be fully content and have a crush on someone or like someone. Because it's like if you don't do that, then you're not going to start dating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like the one has to like follow the other. Because also I remember a big thing in college relationships when you're like in like Christian relationships, a lot of stories people told would be like, well, he just kept pursuing me and I just kept saying no, but he just kept asking me out and eventually I said yes and now we're getting married. And I was like, well, I have no one like that. Like I've got a crush on everyone and
none of them.
and it was like it doesn't have to be that. And they would almost preach it as like it should be that way. They're like, wait for the guy who just pursues you and doesn't stop. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes the guy should just stop. Anyways,
Yeah.
my boyfriend I have right now, we both had a crush on each other the entire time. He asked me out once. He didn't have to ask me out 5 times.
Well, here's the other thing too, and this doesn't totally relate to what you're saying.
Yeah,
but
that's
I
okay.
think in college too, if you don't have a boyfriend, okay, a lot of people around you, and this especially happens after college. I think it happens way more after college than it does in college. But friends or other people asking you why you don't have a boyfriend, or I remember, and I think I talked about this a while ago, where one of my guy friends was like, "You're really cool, like you're really fun and everything. Like, why don't you have a boyfriend?" And then
I hate that question.
Dude, I know. And then I had a friend, and I found this in my journal somewhere, being like talking to me, and then they were like talking about me, and they said, "Yeah, you always like guys, but they never like you back, and you always get friend zoned." And I'm like, that's okay for me to say, but not for you to say.
Yeah, especially since you're probably in a relationship. I hated that question because it was like, well, now you're inferring something's wrong with me.
I know.
Like, oh, you're great, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you have a boyfriend? I don't know. Ask the boys. Don't ask me. I'm
Yeah.
trying out here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I also think I had problems too because some of my friends were a lot more flirty than I was, and
Oh
I was
yeah.
just not a flirty person.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a part in it as well.
I think I was more flirty than I thought I
You were
was.
more flirty than you thought you were,
I
yes.
know. I know. But yeah, I was gonna say I still felt like I was less flirty than other people,
Yeah.
and I was like the second string. You know what I mean? Like it just feels like.
That's what it feels like. And
Yeah.
you're like, golly, I feel like I'm doing everything right and I'm a great person. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
I know.
But yeah, you gotta like go through that too. You're like, well,
And
there's
then
nothing wrong with you.
okay, get this. One of my guy friends through
Sorry, does
college.
my shirt look bulky?
Does it look what?
Bulky. I got the heating pad on under it.
Oh, a little bit. Like I can't
Sorry.
tell. Okay. One of my friends in college was like, I think he was in a relationship when he said this. He was dating one of our friends, but like laughed so hard about the fact, like, or no, maybe he had dated one of our friends who was single at the time or something. I don't remember. Somebody brought up something about like if we would ever date or like threw out some scenario that like wasn't gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But he just laughed and was like, ha ha ha, that would never ever happen, basically. And I was like, I know that's never going to happen, but like, you didn't have to laugh and say it like that.
Right?
Because
Oh
then
my
you're like,
goodness.
okay, I know that we weren't going to date. I know that that scenario wasn't going to happen. We're just good friends and that's all that this is. But like, why are you laughing that hard? Like,
Why is it so
you...
awful?
Yeah. And I think somebody asked him that question and he told me about it later because we'd been like playing basketball together quite a bit or something like that. And then he was like telling me the story and I was like, why did you feel the need to tell me that?
Like, that was best kept in your head. Thank you.
I know.
You should have journaled it.
Great. I probably did somewhere, but
no, they should have journaled it.
Oh, yeah, they should have.
And not said it to you.
They should have. I think the other thing that I was going to add to this, and you can tell me if you got something too, but I feel like at this point through college, I'd wanted a boyfriend. I'd had all these feelings, like all the things we've kind of already talked about. I had so many crushes.
Mm-hmm.
I finally got a boyfriend my senior year, and I did 5 years, so this was like my 4th year of college that I got a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time I'm thinking, the grass is greener, it's going to be so much fun when I have a boyfriend. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, right? Like, my ex-boyfriend and I had a lot of fun together. Whenever we hung out, like, whatever we did, we were always laughing, like, having a blast. But I think you quickly realize the grass isn't actually greener on the other side all the time. Like, There's just still as many problems and things that you just have to deal with. Like, there's annoying things about being single. There's also annoying things about being in a relationship sometimes.
Right. I think the biggest thing too is learning, like, when you're single, you make all your own choices and you get to spend all your time. And then when you are in a relationship, you're not married, so it's not like it's like that intense, but you now need to consider someone else when you do something or like all that stuff. So that's also tricky too.
Yeah. It's just wild. And I think, I don't know how it would be if I ended up with someone that like had the same priorities as I did. Like, we broke up because we were having so much fun, but we wanted really different things in life and had very different priorities. And so because of that, that caused a lot of the little arguments or little problems that we had throughout our relationship the whole time. And I think both of us kind of knew it wasn't working out for a long time before we broke up, you know? But when we were together, we had fun. So I don't know how it would be in a relationship where you're actually like have the same priorities and wanting the same things in life and like.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the relationship I have now is a lot different than my first relationship. And my first one, I had the same idea of like the grass is not necessarily greener. I think I cried. So awful, but I shed a lot of tears in that relationship because I was just like, I thought it would be better.
Yep.
And it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I started dating the boyfriend I have now, and it's like, oh, like if we have the same priorities, it's like we're supposed to be best friends and we're supposed to
Yeah.
like plan these things together and do all this stuff. And it is so much easier than the last one, but it's still really hard.
Yeah.
It's like you have little arguments, you have to work through it, or you have a different idea on something, you have to work through it. You like, and the more you date, like the more serious it gets, and the more you're like planning little things, and you're like, well, we're doing this on this night and this on this night, and like making time for your friends is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also right now, like, so dating is weird. Like, we're in this weird stage too after college where
Yeah.
our friends mostly, for the longest time, now some of my friends have boyfriends, but my friends were all single and everyone else I knew was married. So we knew no
There's
dating
no in
people.
between.
So there was no in between. So we were like in this really weird phase of like, well, all of my friends are single. And so I love hanging out with them, but also we don't necessarily have the same priorities right
Yeah.
now. But also we're not married, so it's like we don't have those priorities either. So like finding someone to talk to about anything was really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, even that's kind of tricky.
I think like talking about relationships in general. College, I'm not saying I'm jumping back to college, but I think
Well, that's
in
good.
college, I'm not saying like don't have a boyfriend because I know
Right.
lots of people that have had boyfriends and it's gone incredible like for them and it's awesome. But I would say all my best memories for college have come from like hanging out with my friends and doing
Right.
really fun things and like prioritizing my friendships.
Right.
And I would say that's like the best thing ever. Now, at the time, I would not have said, oh my gosh, I want to do everything with my friends because I know I'm making all these memories that I'm going to cherish forever.
Mm-hmm.
No, at the time I wanted a boyfriend, that was all I wanted. Okay?
Yeah.
And I was
also,
sad about it.
college was a time where I like really feel like I became my own person.
Yeah.
And I would like, you're young in college. Like, you feel old, but you're young.
Yeah.
And it's like, golly, I'm so glad that I also like got to become my own person by myself.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, if you're in a relationship, that's great. Like, if it works out, that's great. But also, like, I got to go through that and become who I wanted to be by myself. I had to find my own interests by myself. I had to make my own friends by myself.
I'm telling you, I'm still figuring that out.
Oh, me too.
Like,
but I think it was really helpful to do that in college as well.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Pod number 6.
Pod number 6. I feel like we rambled a little bit for this one.
Me too.
But we hope you enjoyed it. Also, I think we should start adding to this. Like, if you have any questions or things you want us to talk about,
Oh,
you should
please.
email us at WH0ARETHEY podcast
Yeah,
at gmail.com.
that
Like,
sounds
email us
right.
anything.
Please. But that would be so funny. I would die.
And we'll start responding things. Maybe it's going to be a topic of an episode. Maybe you have a funny story that relates to something we told.
Maybe you have a history because you did something with us that you think is funny.
Like if you know us and you've got a history.
Yeah.
Oh,
But if
yeah.
you had a history, like you have to make sure if someone put in a history, I feel like they would have to be careful, like in the subject or something, write history so we don't look at it or like watch the video or like
Right. We'll
read
blind
it
react on the pod.
before the pod.
Yes.
Although I'm not sure I want to choose anybody's history and then read it on the pod and be too embarrassed or something. So maybe we would have to preview.
Well, we don't do this live.
That's true.
Yeah, so send those. Also, please rate, review, and subscribe on whatever you're listening to.
Yep.
And anything we talked about today, there's going to be lots of photos on the Instagram.
Maybe you'll see our Valentine's video and stay tuned for the next Valentine's whatever we do.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening.